Hey, this is Ken Frazier from Chicago's Dynasty of Legends. Chicago and the surrounding areas has a vast amount of legends that's coming here to tell their stories on becoming a legend. Their stories are raw, they real, and they uncut. So come with me and hear their stories at Chicago's Dynasty of Legends because people want to know. Hello, everybody. My name is Ken Frazier. I'm here from Chicago's Dynasty of Legends. And what we're doing here today, legends are coming in and telling their stories because a lot of people want to know about their story, how they got to where they are today. And matter of fact, I hear somebody at the door now.
Hey, come in.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, oh, who's that?
Oh,
hey,
Look who showed up.
All right.
Look who showed up.
Hey, come to join the party.
Have a seat.
Oh,
Have a
thank
seat.
you.
Let's talk about
I
something.
love the hospitality.
Look who showed up.
Okay.
My man, Danny Wilson.
Yes.
Say your name. Tell
Well,
him.
Danny Wilson, and for those who don't know, my other AKA is Sweet D.
Okay.
You don't want to ask where that came from?
No. I want to ask where that came from. I can't call you that.
Actually, a guy named Chip E, another Chicago legend, gave me that name.
Chippy gave you that name?
Yes, he did. Chip E said, "I'm Chip E," because we did a project together.
Mm-hmm.
And Chip E said, "Well, you gotta have a name." I said, "I do." He said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm Chip E. You'll be Sweet D. How about that?" I said, "Okay, that works for me."
All right.
Yeah.
So, Danny, when you first started out, I know you do, the house music.
Mm-hmm.
So when you first started out, how did you become about in doing the house music, and how you started out?
Well, actually, I had a band. Okay, and my band, I was the leader of the band, and it had a couple of members that people around Chicago might know. Namely, Keith Nunley. He was the lead singer for a group called Jam Silk. And what happened was Keith had went and made this song with Steve Silk Hurley.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Music is the Key.
Okay.
After he made the song, he came back to my house because we still rehearsed at my mother's house at the time. I didn't have my own back then. I was young. But anyway, Keith brought me the tape, and he let me hear it, and I was like, well, man, we could do something like that. That's nothing.
Okay.
So we sat there that evening and came up with another song, which ended up being Jam Silk's second release, which was Shadows of Your Love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we created that right there in my mom's house in the basement.
In the basement?
Yep.
Oh, boy, so much stuff.
I know, basement band.
In the basement.
Basement band. But actually, that became their second release. And what a lot of people don't know is, too, a guy named Peter Black, may he rest in peace, but Peter Black was a member of that band, too. And Peter Black came in a little after we started, about an hour or two later, and he added some things to it. Keith took the tape to Steve, and Steve liked what he heard, and he took it and put it in a sequencer, and it became their second release.
And when you said Steve Hurley, I was at the CRC studios, and Steve Hurley was down. He was doing a remix for CC Peniston.
Okay,
Yeah. So I had the chance to meet that brother.
yeah.
So tell me more. So when you started out, how did you actually get into like mixing and and all that type of stuff? Because I understand you have several house music records
Yeah, I
or
played
tracks?
on a lot of them. I'll put it this way. I was like the community keyboardist for people.
Okay.
I would go around, anybody having a session, they would call me up. I would go down, lay some keys on their tracks, and move on to the next. A lot of tracks I laid, I wouldn't remember I did them until I heard them on the radio again. And I'm like,
wow.
oh, that sounds familiar. And then I think, oh, that's me.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Because the guy who was notorious for it, and I'm not down on him for it, but Farley. Farley Jackmaster Funk would get me in the studio, and he knew he could only have me for so long. So what he would do, he would just have me play a little bit on one track, and then he'd cut it. And I'm like, why didn't we finish the track? You know, I wanted to finish it. He'd have me start another one. He'd cut it. Then he'd have me start another one. He'd cut it. And then I go back, and I'm now thinking about it. I'm like, he just wanted to get as much out of me as he could while he had me there. And then he would take those bits and pieces that he got out of me, and he would make records.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Some of the records that you, some of the tracks that you did. Name a couple of the tracks that you did.
I don't know. One of the most popular ones was one with Farley. It was a House Nation. I had one that was released on the Epic record label.
Okay.
With my buddy Richard Patterson. May he rest in peace. A lot of people thought when they heard this particular track, they thought it was Colonel Abrams. And that was by design. We were trying to mimic Colonel Abrams because...
That was the one you was telling me about that was doing the vocals?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool.
So, but it was actually us. It was a group. The group was Full House. That was me and Richard Patterson. And the song was Communicate.
Okay.
All right. But we kind of wanted to take that vibe because we wanted to take house music and R&B and kind of blend it together where we could get radio play.
And Communicate
was one of the first songs to actually cross over into commercial radio.
Wow.
It wasn't the first, but it was one of the first. You know, it got into regular rotation on radio. So that was a big deal. So
was DJ International involved in a lot of that stuff?
So actually, DJ International was the label that Keith Nunley introduced me to. So he took me to meet Rocky Jones. Okay, Rocky Jones, who owned DJ International. And then there was another label around, which was Trax Records, Chicago Trax Records. And that was a guy named Larry Sherman. So I got to meet both of those guys just by being in the mix with people like Farley and Hurley and Keith Nunley and stuff like that. Chip E, because I met Chip E through being at DJ International. And that's how I met all these people that were involved heavily in house music. And
So from DJ International, you went to Byron Stingley. Wasn't Byron Stingley involved with DJ International?
I believe he was, yeah.
Yeah.
Byron, I was on one of the first house music tours that left the country, that took house music around the world. So I was on the first, I think, 2 house music tours. There were 2. One was with DJ International and the other was with Trax. But yeah, I was on one of those first tours, and we went over to England and kind of introduced house music to the people in England, and that was when it took off. You know, because when it was local, it was just a thing that the kids was doing here. But once it broke overseas, it's like it was snowballed from there, and the world was starting to fall in love with it.
Did Frankie Knuckles have anything to do with? I understand he was a legend also. Bringing about house music in Chicago. Have you ever worked with?
So I did do some work with Frankie. It never was released, but I did spend some time in the studio with Frankie Knuckles.
Oh wow!
So and after looking back, I consider that kind of an honor. He thought enough of me to bring me in the studio to work with him. So.
And what are you doing now?
So right now, basically, I kind of took a hiatus from house music and just making music, period. Because I got to keep it real. If we're talking about true history, the true history is the business side of house music wasn't so great. You know, a lot of the artists were being cheated out of their royalties.
So y'all was doing all that house music that was getting rotation on the radio stations, and they wasn't paying you guys?
No.
Oh, wow.
Taking us on tours, you know, that was nice. And as a kid, I was in my early 20s. So I thought I was doing something right, you know. And I was just frantic because I was able to travel to places I've never been. Here I am going to England and Sweden and Switzerland and Amsterdam, all these places around the world that there's no way I would have went to if I wasn't doing this music.
Right.
So I'm thinking this is going to continue and it's going to be a great thing, not really paying attention to the business. And I would tell anybody to get into this thing, take care of your business. You know, handle your royalties, handle the business side, because you will get taken in this business if you don't handle your business. And I don't feel so bad because it's happened to people much greater than me. Prince went through it. That's why he put slave on his face. Who else? New Edition went through it.
Right.
It goes on. Tony Braxton.
Right. So many
TLC.
people went through the same thing.
You know, these are great, you know, big artists, and they went through it, and I guess I got caught up in it too.
Okay. So that's a story from Danny Wilson, house legend. And this is Chicago's Dynasty of Legends. We'll be seeing you soon. Take care.